everybody, what is going on? It is December 23rd. We have 2 more days before Christmas, and it is an exciting time for all of us preparing for Christmas this year. We've got literally 8 days left in the year. What are you going to do with those 8 days? What are you going to produce? How are you going to be of value to somebody else to close out 2021? Wow, we have come to the end of another year. So what are you going to do with the 8 days that we have remaining? 8 days is the number of new beginnings, and you can start your new beginning right now. Well, I know you're wondering, well, P. Koffe, what are you doing this video for? Well, I am glad that you asked. Today is also a very significant day. It is my mother's 68th year on the planet, her 68th roam around the sun. My mother has been here for 68 years. And so I want to share with you today about my mom. My mom's name is Cynthia Adams, and she and my father have been married for about 50 years now, nearly 50 years. My mother is the mom of 8 children. I'm the eldest daughter of 8 children, guys. So you can imagine I have been mommying somebody for a very long time. I think I had my first pamper change of another tiny human when I was about 5 years old myself. So I have been helping and supporting my mom with my younger siblings for a long time. I have 6 siblings younger than myself and one that is 18 months older than me. So one right in front of me, and then myself and 6 younger. And my mom, guys, she was something special when we were young. My mother was juggling between a handicapped husband and 8 children. 8 children. I think my mom had her last child right before she turned 40 years of age, which is my baby sister, Charity. And so in between that was 6 other babies. And then my baby sister, Charity, and of course my elder brother, his name is AJ. So I have 7 brothers and sisters, y'all. 7. Okay, it's a lot of us, a whole lot of us. And go figure, that number totals up to 8. And like I said before, 8 is the number of new beginnings. And I always think about 8 souls being saved in Noah's Ark when I think about myself and my siblings. And I just wanted to tell you guys about how incredible my mother is. When I was a young child, my father actually ended up going blind. He was sighted when we were really young. And then as time progressed, he got stricken with some eye challenges and ended up losing his sight. And the dreams and the visions and the aspirations that my parents had, they all appeared to be shattered. But my mom became very creative, and so did my dad, and they were able to create streams of income and do things to supplement the loss of my father's sight and still be able to take great care of themselves and their 8 children. And so my mother is a remarkable human being. She is absolutely incredible. She's been a midwife to so many women who were having children. My mother invested years of doing midwife services as well as child rearing services. My mother was a support system, a nanny, and a support system to countless women in our communities back in Detroit. And then when we relocated to Florida, she still did the same thing. She was also in the educational space. She was supporting children who had challenges, had learning disabilities and things like that. My mother was instrumental in helping those parents to be able to get their children those type of programs and services. And she taught parents how to be advocates for their children if they had challenges. And she taught them about testing and going to battle for their children. And my mom was such a beacon of hope and a beacon of light for us. I remember when I was a little girl, my mother, man, she used to talk about certain life things. She taught us so many life lessons and so many things about being a young lady and how to carry ourselves and what we could do and what was acceptable and what was not so acceptable. My mother was just amazing when I was a young lady. And although I didn't get a chance to really get to know my mom as a person, I knew her as a mom. And although we didn't have a whole lot of time together, because as you can imagine, there were 6 children that were born after me. 6, y'all. So my mother and I didn't have a whole lot of time to get to know each other, but we did have one thing. We had the power of her teaching me how to be a great mom, how to be a really, really strong mother, how to be a good wife, how to be a great support system, how to be an entrepreneur, how to overcome obstacles, how to fight for my family, and how to be a good steward over the things that God has graced me with. And so my mom was a huge blessing to me. She taught me a whole lot of lessons, and she and my dad actually taught me how to cook. So my mom was amazing at that as well, and she used to do all kind of amazing things to supplement their income and to help my dad. My dad actually is a bishop in the Lord's church, and so my mom supported him in building his ministry. But my mom was also a pretty dope chef. I remember one time my mother used to make yeast rolls, and if you guys know anything about yeast rolls, you know that had to rise. My mother would make the yeast, and it would stink, man. To me, it stunk. Everybody else thought it smelled good, but I can't stand the smell of yeast. And so my mom used to put everything together, and she'd get everything all situated, get it all prepared, and she would have it sitting there. She would have these cloths that she would actually wet. She was wet these cloths, and she would put them over these pans to make yeast rolls. And I remember one holiday season, my mom wanted to do something, and my mother made 200 dozen yeast rolls. 200 dozen yeast rolls. My mother was going at it for days, y'all. And she would be so meticulous with every dozen. She'd have her butter, and she had this paintbrush. She brought a paintbrush, like a real legitimate paintbrush. She brought a brand new paintbrush, and she did something to it to make it good to utilize for cooking. But this was years ago, y'all. I'm not gonna tell you how old I am, and then you know all my secrets. But my mom actually purchased this paintbrush, and she took the paintbrush and did some kind of stuff to it to make it acceptable for cooking. And then my mother would actually heat the butter. She'd put it in a pan on the stove. She would heat the butter, and then she would gracefully put butter on every single yeast roll that she made, y'all. She would just put the butter on it, let them cool, and then she had these bags. After they would cool, she had these particular bags that she would put them in, and then people would come by and pick up their yeast roll orders. Y'all, listen, that was amazing. And then my mother would bake cakes, guys, and she would bake pies. Oh my God. And she baked all kinds of stuff, y'all. She had a zucchini casserole that was to live for. And my mother used to bake zucchini bread. And ooh, honey, my mother would bake loaves and loaves of zucchini bread. She had her recipe book, and she would get in there, and my mother would be in the kitchen for hours, and we would come in there disturbing her. And my mother be like, if y'all don't leave me alone, I am in here trying to cook. I have orders to fill. And I remember one day I caught my mom standing in the kitchen crying. And I didn't know why my mother was crying, but this particular time when she was crying, she seemed like she was really, really upset about something. And I remember just standing there, and I looked at my mom, and I said, Mom, what's wrong? I had to be probably about 10 maybe. And she said, nothing, honey, nothing at all. And my mother had ran out of her ingredients that she needed to fill an order. And I saw my mom crying because she didn't have any more money. She had no more money to pay for those ingredients. And something magical happened. Somebody came over probably about 20 minutes from there. And I heard my dad say, Cynthia, are you expecting somebody? Because my mom's name is Cynthia. She's like, no, I'm not expecting nobody. I'm in this kitchen. And so my dad goes to the door, and he said, this lady was there for my mom. And my mom went to the door, And the lady handed her a wad of money. The lady owed my mother some money for giving her son a lesson for math. And I remember my mom closing that door and saying, "Thank you, Jesus." Man, y'all, I'm telling y'all, I'm trying not to cry. But those times as a young lady growing up with my mom were priceless. Absolutely priceless. My mother never ever was a complainer, and she went through a lot of things, having 8 children and having a blind husband, but she withstood the test of time like I've never seen anybody do. And so today I wanted to stop what I was doing just to tell y'all about my mom. So if you haven't done so already, help me wish my mom, Lady Cynthia Adams, a happy 68th year of life on the planet. Mama, I love you and I appreciate you, and I honor you today as the queen of my heart. You are amazing, and I think you're the most incredible woman that has ever graced the face of the earth. I love you. Happy Earth Day, happy Born Day, happy birthday, Mama. Love you.